Pima, Wachan, Yaqui, and Yavapai peoples. Their traditional care and honoring of these lands allow us to be here today. Today's program is unbelievable. We have Kris Mayes, our Arizona State Attorney General, Francesca Martin, who is one of the co-founders of Keep Arizona Blue Student Coalition, and Dr. Amish Shah, candidate for U.S. Congress, Arizona District number 1. In November, another super lineup. It'll be a post-election forum with Adrian Fontes, our Arizona Secretary of State, Patty O'Neill, who's chair of the Maricopa County Democrats, and Melissa Galarza, who is chair of the largest, most active LD in Arizona, LD12. Yay! All right, just a quick run through on armchair activism. There are 13 measures on a 3 or 4 page ballot, depending on where you live. Here is our recommendation. Proposition 139, please vote yes. That's the Arizona Abortion Access Act. All other propositions that start with 100, 200, or 300, we refer to them as the dirty dozen. Please vote no on those. However, in every city, there are bonds and overrides for schools and municipal initiatives. Please vote yes on those. For all the information that you need about this election, please go to cebv.us. That's short for Civic Engagement Beyond Voting. It'll give you everything that you need to know about candidates, propositions, the gavel watch, where to go to vote, how to drop off your ballot. This is an example of the gavel watch. The judges to not retain. Again, cebv.us is your source for voting information. You can also go to your legislative district or your congressional district, your Maricopa County Democratic Party, or Arizona Democratic Party. You don't need to memorize phone numbers or URLs. You can just Google and you'll get right to where you need to be. And we will begin this morning with our chair remarks from Linda Ambrose. Linda. You're muted, Linda.
I guess I should say boo, since that was a Halloween one. Happy Halloween. I want to say good afternoon and welcome you again to our Blue Tuesday Forum for October 29th, 2024. As we are exactly 1 week away from the final voting day of November 5th, many of us have already sent in our mailing ballots, and good for us. But that shouldn't stop us from continuing to be politically active in whatever ways we find possible. As examples, by communicating to others still on the fence, or donating to campaigns, or volunteering at the polls, and more. And if you are still holding on to your mailing ballot, put it in the mailbox or hand deliver it today. We cannot count on snail mail to be delivered any less than 7 days out. Janie has already started to give us the rest of the voting details, but maybe Janie later on you can give them dates for the actual deadlines of when to send and when to take in your ballot. All that being said, I'm going to put on my stewardess cap for a moment and say to my passengers, that would be you, Blue Tuesday audience, ladies and gentlemen, please put on your safety belts and prepare for a bumpy landing. In other words, I suggest we all, as voters, brace ourselves for chaos well after Election Day. My crystal ball warns that Trump's team and his followers will do and say anything and everything to cause confusion, doubt, and even delay the election results. Furthermore, because of so many slow voting counting states or challenges to those final tallies, it is probable we will not know final election results for many days after November 5th. Although I would love my crystal ball to be in total error, only because Kamala Harris could win by such large margins that there would be no doubt she is the next president of the United States. Meanwhile, there is one more.
Linda, we've lost your sound.
Don't know why. Maybe I'm not supposed to speak today. So I don't know where I left off. Could you tell me what I just said that you heard?
Well, I think it was only a sentence or two that we lost.
Okay. All right. Well, I had said I would love my crystal ball to be in total error because Kamala Harris could win by such large margins that there would be no question and no doubt that she is the next president of the United States. Meanwhile, there is one more week of voting, so let's brace ourselves because just in the last month since our September Blue Tuesday, much has happened. Some call them October surprises. First came the vice president debate, all the way back on October the 1st, between Republican, I'll be nice, Republican Vance and Democrat Walz, which had mixed reviews. And although Walz had not been trained to debate in his educational background to become a teacher, Vance had been trained. So he was smooth and slick while telling lie after lie. However, Walz was able to get in some memorable zingers which exposed Vance's true lies, whether it be the rewriting of Trump's notorious past or restating Trump's lies about the Haitian refugees in Springfield, Ohio, eating their neighbors' cats and dogs. He also exposed the utter emptiness of Vance as a vice presidential candidate, having no conscience or empathy for fellow human beings. That's why the scariest moment for me came after the debate with the realization that if Trump wins, he most probably wouldn't last for the next 4 years, be it a physical or mental breakdown, and Vance would become our second least qualified president in history, enacting Project 2025 and much worse. But back to the good October surprises. More and more Republicans, some very conservative Republicans from across the country have announced their support for her, even including Dick Cheney, while many of them are out there campaigning with her.
Linda, you've lost your sound again.
Do you think, Cheney?
No, just keep going. You're fine now.
Okay, I don't know when, did that just happen?
Yes.
Okay, well, I want to give you the good news, so I'll continue. Then there's the conservative generals who served under Trump, as well his chief of staff, John Kelly, and more, who have denounced their former boss, naming him a fascist who should never be reelected as president of the United States. Though these surprises and more have not seemed to move Trump's base, they seem to be influencing those reasonable Republicans who do care about the Constitution and its fragile democracy. Moving on, and this has to be the last Blue Tuesday forum in which I have to utter Trump's name. I must counter his vile campaign rhetoric that we're a third world country, while calling us a garbage can because of all the immigrants coming into our country. I shout back, no way. And I argue that we are a land of the free and home of the brave, and one of our greatest strengths in America is that we are a melting pot of nationalities from around the world. Furthermore, unless we are Native Americans, we are all essentially immigrants. whose ancestors traveled to America to make a better life for themselves and their families. I'd love to follow up with just one question for Trump. Are you also going to deport your wife and her father, since they are also recent immigrants? I've heard some say that Kamala hasn't proven herself yet because he hasn't done enough or said enough of the right things. But consider that she's had only 3 months in which to run a full campaign. I'm answering that criticism with, are you kidding me? First, look at the guy she's running against. He's had 9 years of campaigning and he still keeps getting passes for all his lies, his racist remarks, his being convicted twice as a felon, his Looney Tune behavior, the memory loss, much more pronounced than President Biden has ever demonstrated. And I could go on, but why? Second, Kamala has done more rallies and appearances, including Fox News, in these 3 short months than Trump has done in a year. Third, this country still seems to carry a double standard for women running for any office, but most especially for the highest office in the land. The bar that women must meet continues to be much higher than that for men. The solid proof of this theory is that the lowest of men, that being Trump, is again running for the highest office in the land. Fourth, and maybe most importantly, Trump has numbed us after we've had to listen to his exhaustive hate rhetoric, his forever lies, and his venomous assaults for all these nine years. Our country has been in trauma for so long. We are either thoroughly pissed, emotionally spent, or both. If any of you have watched her latest CNN town hall, in which Trump refused to show up, of course, she had a lot of questions thrown at her from the undecided voters, as well as from Anderson Cooper. To be clear, I believe undecided voters are mostly people who are not for Trump, but who are asking themselves, will I vote for her or just not vote at all? Some of the questions were fair game and some were not. Summarizing the takeout from the town hall, Kamala will hopefully be as specific as possible in reaching out to all voters, reminding them she is ready to represent all Americans and to move us and the United States of America forward. She has 1 more week to close a deal and prove that which we know there is no better qualified person in history to become president of the United States. And I believe today she is doing her final, we'll call it closing the deal. So hopefully we can all listen to that later. I am personally ending with this suggestion for you to consider. For the next 7 days and possibly beyond, I am going to hold and keep the vision of Kamala Harris winning this presidential election, actually feeling the joy felt when goodness wins, visualizing all that that will mean, knowing that this my intention is energy, and energy never ceases to exist. This is a practice that will not only help yourself stay positive and powerful, but will also send energy to others, maybe even to Kamala herself. Try it. Positive manifesting works. I thank you for listening, and I thank you for caring. Janie? There he is. Are you with us, Janie, or did you want me to just go on?
Janie, you're mute.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
All right, and there's our Amish. I am very happy to introduce Dr. Amish Shah. He is a friend and one for whom we have deep respect. We watched him delve into the world of politics because he sincerely wanted to change and make the state and country even better. And so far in his offices, he has done just that. Now he is running for U.S. Congress, Arizona District number 1 against David Schweikert, and he must win. To give you a little background, Dr. Shah resoundingly won 3 straight elections in 2018, 2020, and 2022. In his 5 years at the state legislature, Dr. Shah had more bills signed into law than any Arizona Democrat in the last decade. He is now running for the United States Congress in Arizona's 1st Congressional District, one of the top pickup opportunities for Democrats in the country. Dr. Shah is an emergency room physician who is committed to lowering healthcare costs and standing up to Big Pharma to end the price gouging of essential medications like insulin. He believes that politicians should stay out of personal medical decisions, and he will work tirelessly to ensure that women have the freedom to make choices about their own bodies. Shah, who has already represented key parts of Arizona's 1st Congressional District in Maricopa County as a state representative, has a track record of being an independent voice, working across party lines to put Arizona families first. In Congress, he'll work to lower costs for hardworking Arizonans and protect abortion rights. Amish, personally, I'm told, enjoys basketball, flying small airplanes, and embarking on adventurous travel. He speaks conversational Spanish and is fluent in, and I'm not going to say this right, I'm sorry, Amish, Gujarati. He has 3 adopted cats who I can hear when we talk on the phone sometimes, and they're very vociferous, being named Hillary, Miss Meowerson, and Cousin Oliver, which I'm sure has meaning. So, Amish, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, hello, and we're hugging you.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
You- you-
Welcome.
Yeah, I'm doing really well. I mean, we're in the home stretch over here. I think you know this, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, it's like running an ultra marathon, right? We started this campaign in earnest, kind of like making the preparations January of 2023, and now here we are. And so I'll keep it quick. Maybe we can even do a little question and answer if people want to. This group is really special to me and well known to me. I reference it a lot on the stump, right? While I'm out there talking to people, and people always ask, why did you get into politics, or how did you get into politics? And Blue Tuesday is extremely special to me. And for those that haven't heard this story, I'll just tell you that I had nothing to do with politics. I Googled nearest Democrat meeting, and Blue Tuesday came up, and I just showed up. And you guys kind of drafted me in a sense. You hooked me up with Eric Meyer, and now I'm here doing this. So, you know, when people show up to Blue Tuesday, get them, keep doing what you're doing, get them interested and involved in Democrat politics. And here we are. So you guys understand why this group in particular is really special to me and why it was important for me to be here today.
Get out.
And so Linda was the first person I met. The story was I walked in, and two people were at the front checking people in while we were at the Starfire Golf Club. And so they said, who are you? I said, my name's Amish. I live down the street. They said, what are you running for? I said, I'm not running. They said, yes, you are. And they took me to Linda. Linda said, you need to meet Eric Meyer because he's an emergency physician just like I am. And we ended up having coffee and a great chat. And then I went knocking on doors for him and Kelly Butler. And then they got me in more into the Democratic universe. And here we are, and just kept running and winning. And so, you know, what I really wanted to do is help our party promote our values and create a stable governing majority for the state of Arizona. I mean, truly, to flip it blue doesn't mean a flash in the pan. It means to make it blue and keep it blue. And I think what we're offering in terms of who we are, our values, is just so much more in line with what Arizona really wants. I truly believe that. And we've seen that over the last however many years. It's been 6 years, 7 years I've been in politics, and we've just slowly and steadily seen a march. Because if you remember way back when, the Republicans would have a trifecta. They would have everything, right? All the statewides, all the House, the Senate, the governor, et cetera. And look at how far we've come in all these years. And I'm just really proud of all the work we've done. It really is not about people showing up on Zooms like this and giving pretty speeches and everything, and maybe even fun, nostalgic speeches, but it's about all the hard work that goes into running these things. It is what makes campaigns happen. I talk about this a lot. It's execution, it's organization, it's just the grit to keep going, to keep knocking doors and doing the thing that's logistics like that are important. So these are the things that are really, really important. It's good for us to have meetings like this. We get to, see each other, and it's kind of like a pep rally, but the real key is to keep going out there and just working. So I'll give you guys, I'm sure you guys, Linda, that was an amazing introduction. I think this group already has seen me so many times that you guys know my backstory and everything. For those that don't, happy to speak to you about it later, but I'll give you kind of the update of the race. And that is the primary finished on August 1st. It was called for us. And I immediately just got to work making sure that we would be able to run an amazing general election campaign, turning everything around. First and foremost, I met with all of my primary competitors, my former competitors, and I'm really proud to say they're all collaborators of mine. Marlene threw us a fundraiser recently. Andre threw us a fundraiser. I was just at Andy's house the other day for a fundraiser, which was great. So everybody's been super supportive and has come on board, and we're all on the same team, rowing in the same direction. Second, all of the LD chairs, I met with all 5 of the major LDs that are most of CD1. And again, we came up with a plan, executing the plan, which is what's the most important thing. And then most importantly, nationally, making those contacts with the DCCC and making my rounds in DC with all of those famous Democrats that that have a very strong voice into how these things work and how they get financed, most importantly. Nobody can really do this on their own without the support and backing of a national political party. So we were very proud to say that in all the conversations I had with Leader Jeffries and his whole leadership team, they've been nothing but impressed, supportive. They said, great candidate, great team. You guys are like working hard, and we can work with you really well. And when they got to know us, and that's what it really comes down to. They want to know that you're the kind of candidate that will make them proud. And so for that reason, they have put in about $12 million into me, into yours truly. And this is coming from the National Democratic Party, the DTRIP and affiliated groups. So I'm really, really proud of that. On our side, our campaign has raised, since the primary ended, $4.5 million at this point. And that's what's necessary. You've got an electorate of 420,000 or 440,000 people, and you've got to reach them all in a very short amount of time. And it's very hard to do that. I love knocking doors, and I've continued to knock doors, but you're not going to knock that many in such a short period of time. So you've got to get ads on TV and do mass communication. So that's what we've basically done with all those resources. We still need more, believe it or not. We are trying to finish all the way through. We know that independents are not mailing those ballots back. A lot of it, we think, is because of the length of the ballot. We know it's 4 pages long, so there's a little bit of analysis paralysis, and that's why we've got to get all those returns back in this next week in order to win this race. The polling that we have, latest poll: Shah 49, Schweikert 49. So it's a nail biter, folks. It is the closest race, one of the closest races in all of America, and we're cautiously optimistic based on what we've heard on the ground and everything, but that's why the resources are absolutely necessary. So, again, I just thank you all for all of the support, for drafting me. I don't know whether I should thank you or not for drafting me into this, but because of you, here I am, and I hope to help us with this seat and maybe 3 others in the country. We might just flip the United States House of Representatives. And I'm telling you that the National Democrats are telling us that it goes right through Arizona CD1. So, and just so you know that they're serious, Hakeem Jeffries did a fundraiser for me, and Kirsten Engel, about 3 weeks ago here in town. Tonight, I'm meeting with Whip Catherine Clark, who is the #3 ranking Democrat in the House, and she's here doing a fundraiser for us. And then tomorrow, there will be an extremely special guest who is throwing a fundraiser for us, and that is Speaker Emeritus Nancy Pelosi. So we're being very serious in that this district looms very large in the Democratic Party's plans for flipping the entire House. And so for my part, I'm just going out there. I'm trying to knock doors almost every single day to get out there. And those of you who know, since Blue Tuesday, I've knocked on cumulatively just about 23,000 doors. So I think that kind of gives you a little bit of an update of where the race is, how close it is, how important it is. If you guys can contribute, great. I'd love that. If not, send warm wishes. Tell your friends and neighbors who are independent, especially, and independents and Republicans, like that me and we hang out together like on Zoom calls. And I think those things really make a difference for people. So I'll stop there. I know I went on for a little bit, and Linda, you tell me if we have time for questions.
Well, this is Janie, and we will not have time for questions, but I do want to underscore a couple of things that you have said, and that is, it's too easy within a week to say, oh, there's nothing I can do now that the die is cast. That's not true. That's why you're having fundraisers. If people can send in 5, 10, 50, 500, whatever they can send in, you have to win. For a couple of reasons. The person who's the congressman right now is corrupt. 2 years ago, he had over 13 ethics violations. He does not reflect the people in the congressional district. And we need control of the Congress, and we will have it with some key positions, of which yours is one. So people, please spread the word. It's never too late, especially now in CD1. And if you're sitting in a CD that's fairly set, then please turn your resources to CD1. It's a critical one for control of Congress. And Amish, we're so proud that you are running with your record, with your values, with your tenacity. So thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. This group will always be, I don't care where I go, this group will always be special to me. I want you guys to understand that.
Thank you, Amish.
Especially.
All good wishes. We need you.
See you guys. Thank you.
Okay. There we go. All right. Our next guest is Francesca Martin, and she is unbelievable. The first time I ran for office in 2012, I had a lot of young Democrats, YDs, working for me. And I said at one point, one of my little talks, I said, they're the future of Arizona. And one of them came up to me afterwards and said, we're not the future, we are now. And even more, that just since 2012, I've come to realize that the drive, the initiative, the motivation, the inspiration for the Democratic Party is the students. And Francesca has co-founded a group that is unbelievable in its achievement. Let me tell you a little bit about Francesca. She's a student at ASU, majoring in political science in her 3rd year. Growing up in a proud union home, she's learned the importance and impact of elections and policies on people's lives. She first got involved as part of the group Students for Biden-Harris 2020, working alongside fellow students to elect Joe Biden. For the 2020 midterm, she interned for the Maricopa County Democratic Party, doing field and communications. She co-founded the organization Keep Arizona Blue Student Coalition, with fellow students to put an emphasis on youth engagement in local elections, where she serves as deputy director. Keep Arizona Blue focuses on expanding the youth electorate across the state of Arizona and raising the next generation of campaign leaders. She looks forward to continuing this work, as well as uplifting democratic values that create positive change in all people's lives. And I love these pictures. Last week they hosted a Be Ballot Ready party for Tim Stringham, who's running for Maricopa County Recorder. And this is a picture of the party that they had. And I just the engagement, it just reflects off of their faces, how engaged they are and committed. Let me just give you a couple of words about Keep Arizona Blue Student Coalition. Keep Arizona Blue Student Coalition is a student-created and student-led statewide organization that focuses on student turnout, community building, civic engagement, and winning elections for Democrats. They are unique in their approach as they equip the next generation of leaders to develop political organizing and professional skills while making real-world change. Their goal is to expand the student electorate and ensure young people are prioritized in the political process, whether that be through their large digital presence, field efforts, implementing student strategy and campaigns, and an emphasis on voting for the most local elections on the ballot to the top. And we are delighted to have you with us today, Francesca.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Janie. I extremely appreciate that extremely detailed and warm welcome. That is extremely kind words. I'm extremely thankful. And I think back to May when we first spoke about me speaking. And so I've been looking forward to this event for a very long time. Just like Amish said, I just want to give a shout out to how he spoke first really quickly, how important his race is. We've worked really close as an organization to get him elected in CD1. And it's exactly organizations and groups like this that really get you involved in politics. And so I'm going to share my screen to show a little bit more kind of about Keep Arizona Blue. And not just usually, earlier on in the year, I would talk about what we're going to do. And now I can actually, this is the first time I'm able to say, this is what we've done. So I'm really excited to share that with you today. So everyone, welcome to Student Power 101. Again, very thankful, Janie, for you having me speak today with two other amazing speakers, our Attorney General, Kris and our future Congressman of CD1, Amish Shah. So I really want to start not just by saying how I got politically involved, because it is groups like this, it's groups like Students for Biden, when I was approached with, fellow high school students who were also doing it and saying, hey, at 16, this is something you should get involved in. But it was really becoming politically minded, not just politically activated. So I'm an Arizona native, but my mom grew up in New York. And so, when her father, my grandfather, was coming home from work one day as an FDNY fireman, he was working, off duty. He stopped on the side of the Queensboro Bridge on his way home, and he helped two people out of a car fire. Now, he saved their lives, but he ended up getting second and third degree burns over 50% of his body. As a result of that, the department tried to fight it. The city tried to fight it, saying, well, you weren't on duty, so we can't help you in any sort of way. And now my family, my grandmother, who was just bringing in her third child, was now burdened by, thousands and thousands of dollars of, medical bills, and having to take care of him and having to take care of her three children. And it wasn't until the union, the International Association of Firefighters, actually stepped in and kept my family in the middle class. And so the reason I tell this story is because every young person has a story like that, whether they've been directly affected by mental health issues, LGBTQ plus issues. Plenty of, young LGBTQ plus students might get kicked out of their home at a young age. And so it's experiences like that that really shape the future of how they view the world and how they perceive things. And that, union-minded experience that I had shaped me wanting to get involved in campaigns. And so I got involved in Students for Biden in 2020. And when that ended in a victory, we realized we had a lot more work to do. And that meant electing Democrats, not just at the top for our presidential, but really emphasizing from our school board on up. And so Keep Arizona Blue is formed. We have two main goals, and that's expanding the youth electorate and raising the next generation of campaign leaders. So we are really hyper targeting in specific areas. Our, of course, top goal is to elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz at the presidential, but really gain a Democratic U.S. Senator like Ruben Gallego, flip the Arizona legislature from red to blue. We are 1 seat away in both chambers, and to flip our countywide seats, protect our school boards, and of course, protect abortion rights, especially for young people. Issues resonate most. It's about really connecting issues young people care about to the candidates on the ballot. But with Proposition 139, it is the issue on the ballot. There's no candidate it has to go through. So it's really going to drive turnout for young voters. This is just a, I don't have to tell this group, but this is just a really clear representation of how close we are to flipping our seats. And it really increases the urgency of contacting young voters in those seats. So these are our target legislative districts. It's 2, 4, 9, 13, 16, 17, and 23. I've lived in LD 13 my whole life, and I've seen it slowly go from red to blue. And we're seeing that more and more, and I'm really excited to be electing. If anyone does know Brandy Reese, Nick Gonzalez, and of course Sharon Winters to that district, I always give a special shout out to them. And this is really just to show how low our youth voter turnout is. This is what really motivates me to do work every day, my team to do this work every day. And that's really because 18 to 24-year-olds are voting lower than any other age demographic. And that's because most campaigns, they don't have the resources to go over and hit all the young voters who are, already coming out at low rates. But it shouldn't be up to them. And so that's why we formed what we're doing, so that we can be the people that are targeting young voters, getting them out for the Democrats up and down their ballot, and making sure we promote those candidates. And the reason we do this is because if you do look at those, small percentage of people that vote under 25%, when they do vote, they largely end up voting for Democrats every time. Even young independents typically still voting for Democrats every time. It's a lot easier than maybe the older 65 plus age demographic to get them and just turn them out, give them that voter information. And that's why we do the work that we do. We do this in a lot of different ways. So whether that's voter registration on our college campuses, our community college campuses, but we know that it goes further than just voter registration. In 2020, there were 250,000 registered 18 to 29-year-olds who were registered to vote in the state of Arizona and didn't end up voting. And when you have Joe Biden winning in 2020 by 10,000 votes, that hundreds of thousands of young people isn't an exaggeration. That's a shocking number, and that should be shocking. And that means, again, that yes, we're registering them, but we're not actively recruiting them and getting them involved and engaged, and we have to put in the work and the effort and the investment. Student roundtables are another great thing that we had accomplished over this GOTV period, especially over the summer with our interns. As you can see slightly, you can see the photo of it's in our LD4 roundtable, canvassing, social media, community events, targeting young people, really important. That photo in specific is actually of right after the Arizona Supreme Court decision was released. When we went back to our 1864 territorial ban, within 4 days, we hosted an event at the Changing Hands in Phoenix, bookstore in Phoenix, that had over 40 students from across the state who were interested in, didn't know what had happened and wanted to know, and then how to turn their anger into action. So what they can do about Proposition 139. Because a lot of young people, I was in a classroom at ASU when that decision was leaked. I had kind of known it was coming. I didn't know when. And so when it did happen, you didn't have to ask, people what they were like looking confused and concerned about. You knew that it was about that abortion decision. And so we informed our community on that. And then of course, candidate workshops, whether you're a young person looking to get involved in the political field, or you're older and you want to know important student strategy, or you want to know what issues pertain to young people. I remember Greg Freeman, who's running for county assessor, came to our office one day and we sat him down and kind of talked with him about what works for students, what works well for young people. And of course, these young people that might just be leaving college are entering, buying their own home. And so it's really important that they understand what a county assessor does, rather than thinking it's this completely unknown office that they have no clue what they do. And so again, when we contact these young voters, we have to have very strategic and specific messaging. So it's not just vote Democrat. You want to say we are voting, Brandy Reese and Nick Gonzalez in LD 13 House to be reproductive rights champions. And so we're able to do that. when we contact young people. Not let's just flip the legislature for Democrats, but let's flip the legislature to pass meaningful gun control legislation. That is what resonates with young people. And that's the messaging we get across when we're promoting these Democratic candidates and getting young people excited about it. Especially when they say, well, my life is the same no matter who the president is. You know, if you can't turn a young person on one specific candidate, start focusing and kind of challenging them. Do you know what legislative district you live in? I was in a classroom for my public speaking class. I did a public speech about voting. And I said, you know, can you please raise your hand if you know what legislative district you live in? Nobody raised their hand. Can you please raise your hand if you know what legislative district we are in right now? It's LD8 at ASU. Nobody raised their hand. So it's voter information like this we also have to get across, and you know, we also promote, especially when a lot of the times people might get you know, worn out about talking about the top of the ticket. We really encourage bottom up voting. And so, you know, voting is useless. It really isn't, especially if you think candidates aren't there for you. There are propositions on the ballot. So just, you know, and we know too that they might be apathetic about the top of the ticket, but when they vote down ballot, they are going to see Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, and they know exactly who they're going to end up voting for. And that's why we just want to get their pen to the ballot in the first place. Of course, why social media is so important to getting out the youth vote is because combined with strategic, you know, regular campaign strategies, it largely increases youth voter turnout. And so that's why we have digital ads going out targeting young people in our swing districts to really encourage them to get out and vote. Look at our voter guide, which I will link later in the chat, and it's later in this presentation, keepazblue.org/vote. You put in your address and it comes up with an individualized voter guide with our recommendations, which are for nonpartisan races or the Democrats leaning in those races, but your exact respective voter guide. The only other organization I believe that has that in the state or something similar is a Republican organization promoting their Republican candidates. And then of course, here's just very specifically why we target 18 to 29-year-olds in our swing districts. Because in 2022, look at our LD13 Senate race. Cindy Hans had lost by 3,250 votes. Now there were 6,000 about like 18 to 24-year-old Democrats and independents that were lean Democrat in that district. If we had activated maybe all of them and half of them had turned out to vote, we could have secured that Democratic seat. But a lot of the times people think, well, young people will register them. I hope they turn out to vote for Democrats, of course, but it takes that engagement, that voter contact in order to get them to vote, especially down ballot. So here's just a case study done at the University of Arizona, 39,000 eligible student voters. This is a concentrated area of young people. We cannot let any vote go to waste. And yet there was only 35% turnout. So that means, of course, that we have to be also informing and helping young people. We just had a text bank the other day to young voters, asking them, if you have any questions about your ballot, please let us help you. So here, you know, me and my team and I were in our office on the phones, calling the recorder's office saying, well, if their ballot is in Pima County, where's their closest Dropbox location? And we're texting them back saying, like, we're sending out this text to you and we are real people, so please let us know, answering their questions, calling people for them, or else they just would have never turned in that ballot. And so that information, that really is shocking and really helps us motivate what we do. Over the summer, we had many Canvas launches, campaign strategy, organizing in our swing LDs, and candidate roundtables with our 6 summer fellows. And then these are just a few photos of those roundtables. Really great way to get young voters engaged. It only takes one person in a rural area like Casa Grande or Marana to find other young people who are actually interested in what these candidates have to say. And in all of these different legislative districts, they had all different types of concerns. Some people were more focused on the economy. Some people were more focused on LGBTQ plus issues. So it really was great to hear what was more pertinent to certain groups of students. Canvassing across the state, that was also something really good. We would like caravan from like the morning all the way to the night, canvassing all day, having weekends of action, which was really exciting. And getting young people involved. And we stipended those interns too, so that they could fully focus on campaigning, on working on the election. And so we're, of course, extremely thankful to really largely our grassroots support and labor support, which really helped fund that operation and the entire operation we've had for GOTV. And we just couldn't be more thankful, especially for our postcard campaign. We sent out over 18,000 postcards to young swing district voters with our QR code with that voter guide. And so, of course, again, this is just another way we can really contact young voters We had people from out of state helping with this effort. We had people in state, possibly in this Zoom, helping this effort, all a part of our Gen Z Decides Get Out the Vote campaign. And so this is the opposition we're facing. I don't think I have to remind anyone who Turning Point USA is. I am actually at ASU right now because I was handing out donuts this morning to ASU students with some information that I will also be showing you all. So I don't know if there's any Turning Point USA people in this room that are in right now. I don't think so. But they're bringing in $55 million annually. I guarantee you, because they're headquartered in Arizona, over $1 million of those people, or over $1 million of those dollars, is going to the swing state of Arizona. They're on campus, they're handing out MAGA hats, they're handing out Chick-fil-A, and that's because they have a fully funded operation. We've been talking about the impact Turning Point USA has been doing, the effort and energy and investment that they've been putting out to getting the little youth Republican vote that they have out to vote. And now, finally, because they're on campus and we're seeing it happen, now it's an issue. But they've continuously been doing this because, again, nobody goes after the youth vote when, you know, they're busy, they're switching between states, they're at college and their ballots at home. Nobody's made the effort. So it's even that much more important, the work that we're doing now. They've already committed to putting 500 on the ground canvassers in Arizona, targeting young people. That's already been happening, and investing millions of dollars into the youth vote. And that's what makes our efforts even more impactful this fall. So we went from 6 fellows to 11 fellows, all phone banking 18 to 29-year-olds in our swing districts, canvassing in our swing districts. We just canvassed for Amish the other day, researching different topics to talk to bring up on digital strategy, text banking, so texting young voters, what I just talked about briefly, having a good digital strategy on all our different social media platforms, peer-to-peer outreach, campus engagement, and events. So all of these our fellows have been doing really, really amazing work on, and we're just extremely excited and happy that they can be fully a part of our team, again, stipended so that they can focus fully on campaign operations at this time. And they're not just ending on November 5th, but they're going to go through with us all through November so we can cure ballots and ensure, you know, we always talk about, oh, like the election will be after November 5th. It is not over November 5th. We have a lot of work to do. And of course, right after that, the midterm of 2026, which our Attorney General, Kris, I'm so excited for that. And so these are just a few examples. I'm really thankful you already showed pictures of our ballot party. I included it on here that we had the amazing Tim Stringham talk about why half of the people at that ballot party didn't have their ballot yet. We had assumed that by that Tuesday, everyone would have their ballot, and they didn't, because there were half of them didn't go out in time. And so he was able to explain why that was. People lined up at ASU, canvassing, handing out literature at ASU, just literally canvassing all the time and reaching out to other young voters. We're super thankful for that. And this actually video was from 2 hours ago that I just filmed of our director, Jacob, handing out donuts at ASU with this literature. And after this Zoom, I'll be going back and doing some more. And we're handing it out. It has the times of when the Sun Devil Fitness Center is open, which is a voting location here on campus. And it has a link to our voter guide and a link to other voter information. So just really, really amazing work. And I'm just like very, very thankful that we're able to do this in combination with the coordinated campaign, Young Dems at ASU, just super, everyone's so excited to be on campus. And so we've handed out literally thousands of donuts now. We plan to be doing it tomorrow, the next day up until Friday, and then again Monday and Tuesday. I'll actually be at Mesa Community College on Tuesday. But again, a lot of this voter information they wouldn't normally get, so we're really happy to be handing these out. We've handed out thousands of these. And so, yeah, I just thought that was a fun last minute video to include. But of course, I just want to thank you all for even listening to what I have to say, why the youth vote, and it really investing in going after these young people are so important. And there are plenty of ways that you can help us, especially contributing in these last few days. These donuts cost money, like all of these, like the shirts that we're handing out. We had the shirts printed, ASU for Harris Walls, cost money. So even in this last week, we are spending a lot on really getting after every single young voter. So of course, our grassroots contributions are so appreciated by our group. Interacting with us on social media. And then of course, if you are interested in phone banking, if you've used the program Scale to Win, that's what we're using right now. And so we're giving that link out to anybody. It should be on our website, but I can also send it to anybody if they're interested to phone bank into young voters. So yes,
Oh,
I think
Francesca, you've been
oh,
absolutely fabulous. I mean, you should see
thank
the
you.
chat room. And in addition to these contacts, Susie's been putting contacts for Keep Arizona Blue in the chat room. But
Thank
what I
you.
want to do is underscore some of the things that you've said and done. Your focus is activating young voters. And from the beginning of your slides, we could see why that is a desperate need for us to get the young voters out. And you all, the ones who are in Keep Arizona Blue, are going to be our well, you are our leaders now. I gotta go back to 2012. You're our leaders now,
Yeah.
but I think you're going to be our electorate, our candidates and our elected officials later, because you have that commitment to all of the democratic procedures and values. And every member of Keep Arizona Blue is a champion of democratic
Thank
values.
you.
Champion. I mean, the energy, the commitment that you have to making sure that our values are reflected in government is incredible. And you really do transcend the age. I mean, your focus is to activate young people. That is for sure, and you are doing that. But I just want to give a couple of personal supports for what you do beyond that. The I met Francesca, what was it, in February, when we did a workshop on the Inflation Reduction Act, and it was focused on seniors because of all the like the climate control measures and all of the things that were included in the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act. Francesca was there and she was speaking to it. That's not an 18 to 24-year-old issue. That's a seniors issue. And our LD 12 has received funding from Keep Arizona Blue. So I I really cannot stress this enough. Whatever you can contribute to Keep Arizona Blue, please do it. I mean, this last week until November 5th, of course, is critical. But as Francesca said, they go beyond that. That's like day one for the midterms. And we have Kris Mayes that we have to reelect, Adrian Fontes, and so on. And they're on the ground, boots on the ground on November 6th. So please, whatever support you can give to Keep Arizona Blue, please do that. And Francesca, I cannot thank you enough as a Democrat for what you are doing to make sure that our values are in the forefront and being supported.
Thank you. I really appreciate everything you had to say. That was extremely kind. I do want to give a very quick shout out to the fact that our Attorney General, Kris Mayes, actually made a little video for our voter guide. So if you do happen to go on our social media, you will find that. I'm extremely thankful for that. It was really amazing. I was shocked. Actually, our director, Jacob, he came in the room and he's like, look at this new Kris Mayes ad. He didn't tell me he did it. And I was like, wow, yeah, I wonder what she's promoting on this ad. And then it said our keepazblue.org voter guide. I was shocked. So it was really amazing. And then also, yeah, the Inflation Reduction Act. Yes, that's an issue that particularly affects seniors. And Dora Vasquez has been, of course, spearheading the AARA, but she has been so amazing at events that really bridge the youngest generation as well as the oldest generation. Because again, back in February, I was promoting the IRA, and so far as, you know, Biden was running for re-election, and I wanted to tell young people what are all of the great things that he's done, whether it's the CHIPS Act, the IRA, just a million different things that he did as president. Showing that to young people, I think, is really important. And of course, Vice President Harris also did that as well. So of course, just really kind of encompasses everything. Of course, now Kamala's our nominee, and so I'm really, really excited for November 5th, of course. But thank you again for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And we do have a couple of minutes for
Yeah.
questions, and
And I can stay in the chat as well to answer them afterwards.
okay, all right.
if
Well,
needed.
let's leave that, if you don't mind, leave that screen up so people can get
Yeah.
to website. But as I said, Susie's been wonderful about putting all of that information in the chat as well. If you can just don't bother, don't take the time, the 10 minutes to write the question, but just when you go to the chat, just say question, and then I can see that and call on you.
Nobody has any questions, and I hope I did a good enough job at
Oh,
explaining
no.
everything we do.
Well, yeah, you were absolutely wonderful. When did you start the Keep Arizona Blue?
So it was in 2020, right after, like December 2020, right after Biden won. That's
Ah.
a lot of people say, why is it keep, not turn? Because Biden had just won. So we were keeping Arizona blue. And it's much easier if you think about it to keep something than to flip something. So if we keep saying keep, then the notion's already there that Arizona is already blue, whether it is or not. But it really has been looking that way. So
Well, and it's a solid message, I think, too.
yeah.
And when you talk about the potential university votes, like that U of A was astounding. I mean, sad.
Yeah.
But and we assume that, well, it's not an assumption because it's true that the higher the education level, the more likely they are to be Democrats. And so we can think, yeah, that's a loss because we would have been blue. So I do like the Keep Arizona Blue. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And of course, my email is francesca@keepazblue.org. So if you want to email me any questions afterward, that would be great. But otherwise, I just really appreciate you giving me the time to speak about kind of what we've done. This is really exciting. I'm glad that I could talk about it.
Right.
Hi, Francesca, we just have this moment. Linda Ambrose here, and I just want to thank you because you've given so many of us heart, and you've lifted us up because we see now that there is a youth that is very into keeping democracy, keeping freedom, and some of us, as we age, need to see this, need to know that there is this youth that is so informed, enthusiastic, and brilliant. And we know we're going to see you someday, some in the future, near future, as a candidate. You're just marvelous. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Linda. That's very kind.
Francesca, I'm going to tell the Blue Tuesday group, if you have questions for her, if you think of them, just put them in the chat. She can answer them in the chat. But right now, I'm going to go to our next candidate.
Thank you. I will stop.
All right. Whew. I told you this is going to be an exciting Tuesday. Kris Mayes, an American attorney, reporter, and politician, was elected as the Arizona Attorney General in 2022. It's a landslide. Previously, Mayes was a professor of practice at Sandra Day O'Connor College of Law and chair of the Arizona Corporation Commission. While attending ASU, she served as editor-in-chief of the state press, the university's newspaper. She graduated valedictorian from ASU with a degree in political science. Mayes worked as a reporter for the Phoenix Gazette and later as a political reporter for the Arizona Republic, covering the Arizona state legislature. That must have been very depressing. Mayes then won the Harry S. Truman Scholarship and attended graduate school at Columbia University in New York, where she earned a Master of Public Administration. Following graduate school, Mayes returned to the Arizona Republic, where she covered the 2000 presidential campaigns of Senator John McCain, former Vice President Dan Quayle, publisher Steve Forbes, and Governor George W. Bush. From this experience, Mayes co-authored a book entitled Spin Priests, campaign advisors, and the 2000 race for the White House. After the presidential campaign, Mays attended ASU College of Law and graduated magna cum laude. Mays was the press secretary for Janet Napolitano during the 2002 Arizona gubernatorial election. Napolitano then appointed Mays to the Arizona Corporation Commission in October 2003. She devoted much of her effort towards pipeline safety, renewable energy, and national gas issues. And those of you who have not been under a rock since Kris May's election know what wonderful work she has been doing for democratic values for the state of Arizona. I am delighted to introduce and welcome Kris Mays.
Well, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I love the Blue Tuesday Forum. This is one of my favorite groups. When I was campaigning in 2022, I enjoyed so much coming to visit with you, and appreciate and thank everything that you did for me in that year, and everything that you are doing this year to elect Democratic candidates up and down the ballot. I know how hard everybody is working, and it is incredible, and it is about to pay off in 7 days. We are, as you know, 1 week away from the most, I thought my election was the most important election in our country's history, but this one might just top it. So thank you so much. As was mentioned, we know that we have close races in Arizona. That's just the way we roll, right? In Arizona. And these elections are probably going to be close again. And I know a thing or two about that. They don't call me Landslide Mays for nothing. I won by 280 votes out of 2.5 million votes cast, the closest statewide race in Arizona history. So I think that we can say with absolute clarity that every vote matters. Every vote matters. And chances are we're going to have an election or a race, come next week, where every vote will have mattered. They all do. And so, we know that these races are going to be close. Yes, we had one in just recently in the congressional race, where in the primary, where every vote definitely mattered. We cannot let up. And I know everybody is tired. We're all exhausted, but we cannot let up until we can say the words President Kamala Harris, Vice President Tim Walz, until we can say Senator Ruben Gallego, until we can say Congressmen and women Nez, Shah, and Engel down in Tucson, until we can say that we have 3 Democrats on the Corporation Commission, something that is near and dear to my heart. 3 Democrats. Don't forget to vote for 3 Democrats for Corporation Commission. Until we can say that we have enshrined abortion rights in the Arizona Constitution. And finally, until we can say that we have once and for all flipped the Arizona legislature blue. And I can tell you from what I'm hearing that things are looking good. They are going to be close in these legislative races, but I am really optimistic about our chances of doing just that. So if you have any ability to keep working on these legislative races, please do. It's so important. These races are going to be really, really close. And so I don't know, maybe I'd love it if you would, and I hope this isn't too weird, but close your eyes with me and just imagine what we could do when we flip the Arizona legislature. Imagine that we will be able to finally fund properly our public school system and do something about this out of control boondoggle scheme of a program called the ESA program and vouchers, which is out of control and is decimating our budget and is about to reach $1 billion with very few controls on it, and very, very little accountability. Imagine that we will be able to pass a red flag law in Arizona that will allow me to take guns out of the hands of mentally ill Arizonans who are threatening our schools. I proposed legislation last legislative session that could, on that point, that was very narrowly tailored, that I couldn't get even get a hearing for in this Republican legislature. That's insane. Yes, and protection for our school board members as well. Imagine that we will be able to protect our water supplies. We'll be able to clean up our air sheds in the valley and in Tucson. We'll be able to properly fight the fentanyl crisis in our state and address the opioid crisis. So many things that we will be able to do and turn our state around and recover from more than a decade of disastrous Republican rule at the legislature. And I can't tell you enough how, as Attorney General, I see this day in and day out, how these Republicans have starved state government, have starved our state agencies, and yes, they have also starved public safety. You know, they like to talk a big game about how they support public safety, fire and police. They do not. They are not supporting our fire departments throughout the state of Arizona, our police departments throughout the state of Arizona. We have $1 billion surplus, and they are not using it to fund our schools or public safety. So just imagine what we will be able to do when we flip this legislature together. And then, you know, I hope you'll, as was mentioned, see me as proof of concept of what we can do when we elect Democrats who actually care about Arizonans. You know, Democrats who care about the future of our state, who care about our kids. You know, because of those 280 votes, I was able to immediately come into office and reverse the position that Mark Brnovich had taken in favor of the 1864 abortion ban. I reversed that position and we started fighting it. And we fought it all the way to the Arizona Supreme Court. And even after the Arizona Supreme Court upheld that insane ban, I fought to delay its implementation, and we successfully delayed its implementation long enough to get us to this point where the voters of Arizona will be able to once and for all end the 1864 ban and end the 15-week ban, which is also causing chaos in the state of Arizona. I pulled together a meeting, I'll tell you, of doctors and nurses and pharmacists to try to find out what the AG's office could do to help them in this interim period and deal with this 15-week ban. I had a doctor look at me and say, General Mays, how close to death do I have to allow a woman to get before I can avoid being prosecuted? He actually said that to me. And that is why we need this constitutional amendment in Arizona, so that women don't have to flee the state of Arizona, and so that doctors like that can know they won't be prosecuted by anyone, including all of our 15 county attorneys. We've also established I've established the first reproductive rights unit inside the AG's office. We established the first workers' rights unit inside the AG's office to protect the rights of workers in Arizona. And we are, as you guys know, aggressively working to protect our renters in this state. I have filed suit against a company called RealPage, which was engaging in collusion with 9 major landlords in Arizona. I called it using an algorithm to artificially set rent prices high, affecting more than 70% of all of the apartment complex renters in Phoenix and more than 50% of all the renters in Tucson, because this software company called RealPage was setting those artificially high rents and impacting Arizonans terribly. We also have fought the Kroger Albertsons merger under our antitrust laws. You know, we do have antitrust laws in Arizona, and we're kind of dusting them off. We are implementing them once again to help the consumers of Arizona. We have too much consolidation in industry. We have too many large corporations that have too much power, and that are using that power to the detriment of consumers. We're also fighting, as you know, I've been not shy about speaking out against those who are sucking our aquifers dry in rural Arizona, especially the Saudis in La Paz County, and they are still out there doing that in La Paz County. It's unacceptable. We have in Cochise County a Minnesota-based dairy called Riverview that has plopped 600 wells down and is dewatering the wells of surrounding residents who came to Arizona or have lived in Arizona their whole lives and thought that this was going to be a place where they could retire, and they sunk their entire life savings into these homes, and now those homes are being rendered worthless almost by the fact that this powerful out-of-state corporation can do this. Look for me to be very active in that space very soon, especially out in La Paz County against the Saudis. And then finally, we are doing everything we can to combat elder abuse. Again, because of those 280 votes, I'm in a place now to go after these corporations that are increasing, and Wall Street firms that are increasingly buying up nursing homes, squeezing the profits out of them, and leaving our elderly vulnerable to understaffing at the nursing homes, abuse at the nursing homes, elopement from the nursing homes and these long-term care facilities. We do have laws on the books that my predecessor, Mark Brnovich, did not enforce, including a law that would allow me to go after these Wall Street owned nursing facilities for millions of dollars in fines. We're going to do that. We're going to hold them accountable for keeping Arizona, our Arizona elderly and older adults and vulnerable adults safe. Because of all things, we should be protecting our elderly and protecting our seniors. So that's proof of concept. We can elect. We did it. We did it in 2020. We did it in 2022, and we can finish the job in 2024. Just imagine what we will get when Kamala Harris is the president of the United States and we have flipped this legislature, and we can build finally a better future for all Arizonans, and especially our kids who deserve to grow up in a democracy like the ones we did. So thank you again, all of you, for everything you're doing. We love you. We appreciate you so much. We're going to get out there and we're going to win this thing, and we're going to have something really big to celebrate after November 5th.
Kris, as always, it's fantastic having you on. Let me ask you one thing. I know there's a week before the election. I'm hoping that my stomach and my brain will calm down a little bit after that. First of all, what would you suggest that people can do between now and Tuesday? And then after that, would you please tell us? I mean, every day, absolutely every day, I read or hear about something that your office has done, and I'm wearing myself out in 80 years of jumping up and down and screaming and shouting, yay, yay. What can we do to support you in what you're doing as Attorney General?
Well, I thank you for that. I appreciate it. I would just say on that front, I'm not on the ballot this time around. I will be in a couple of years. My reelection will start probably basically January 1st. So I'll be coming back to you asking for your help. For now, though, what you can do for me is help me get a Democratic legislature, because there's so much more that I could do as AG with a Democratic obviously we've got a Democratic governor, but she and I both need a Democratic legislature so we can pass things like that red flag law and protect our schools and protect Arizonans from mentally ill getting their hands on guns, so that we can do more with our antitrust laws. I would like to expand our antitrust laws, and I would like to do more in terms of building my office. We could hire additional attorneys. My predecessor didn't give a damn, frankly, about keeping our positions staffed, and also we're losing lawyers and special agents all the time to other branches or areas of government because they can get paid more, because this legislature won't pay competitive salaries. So just getting that legislature flipped, that's what you can do for Katie Hobbs and I between now and the election. And so please, knocking on doors, every door knock, phone call, dollar donated to the ADLCC is helping not just the ADLCC and these legislative candidates, but also me and Katie directly come January.
Okay. And so November 6th, we'll start working on your campaign, correct?
I guess so. You bet. That'd be awesome.
If you have a question for Attorney General Mays, if you want to put it in the chat, you may do that. You don't have to bother about writing the whole question, but just yeah. Before we start getting those, I remember, and I think it was at an ADP meeting, where you and Julie Gunnigal were addressing the abortion access. And I remember both of you just solemnly vowed that you would never oppose that you would always, make it an important part of reproductive rights for women. How do you think, this is very hypothetical, how do you think Arizona is coming along since 1864?
Great question. So we did. I mean, and I made it clear from the get-go that I would never prosecute a woman, a doctor, a pharmacist, a nurse, a midwife, under 1864 or the 15-week ban. I also made it clear to all of the county attorneys that if they tried to prosecute anyone under either of those abortion bans, I would immediately trigger what's called my supervisory authority over county attorneys. Don't take that lightly. That is not something that is done very often, but the Attorney General does have the ability to supervise county attorneys. For instance, I had to do that up in Apache County with a Democratic county attorney who unfortunately we had to indict. And so we are now supervising that office. I said that I would supervise any county attorney who tried to enforce those abortion bans because I believe they're unconstitutional. Unfortunately, we have two county attorneys, including Rachel Mitchell and a man named Dennis McGrain in my home county, Yavapai County. I was born and raised in Prescott. Who've been clear as mud about whether they would ever try to prosecute a woman or a doctor or a nurse or a pharmacist. And so, that is, again, because we have those county attorneys who have never been clear about whether they would try to prosecute, we've got to pass the abortion access initiative. We absolutely have to get that passed because, you know, even though I have said we're not doing it from the AG's office, I'd have a fight on my hands with these other county attorneys, possibly.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being our Attorney General and for all of your ethics and your values. We can't thank you enough for being there and influencing what's happening in our laws in Arizona. I have to say the pin that you're wearing looks like one of those sheriff's badges that I used to get in a cereal box. But I know it's not.
We have many pins, yes, but yeah, it's yeah, thank you. But it's a great honor. It's a great honor to have this office. It's the honor of a lifetime. I would tell you there are remarkable people at the Attorney General's office who really just wanted the opportunity to do their jobs. And I think they were being thwarted in that by my predecessor in a lot of ways. My predecessor is the guy who was running around, you know, investigating election fraud that didn't exist in 2020 and doing nothing, obviously, about some of the issues that occurred, you know, in the election, and so, you know, we know that they're great public servants. They just want to be able to do their jobs, and they just want good leadership, and they wanted some normalcy returned to the AG's office, which is just about protecting the people of Arizona. So I'm glad to carry on the tradition of Terry Goddard, Janet Napolitano, Grant Woods, who himself became a Democrat toward the end of his life and was a co-chair of my campaign.
Absolutely. And when you talk about normalcy, not only have you brought the AG's office back to that, but beyond that to being a real champion of democracy and people's rights. So thank you again, Kris, for being our guest today and for being our AG. We love it.
Thank you all. Thanks for the honor. Appreciate you. Well, and I'll see you on the other side.
All right. Thank you.
We love you, Kris.
Love you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, thank you for joining us today. It was a spectacular Tuesday. I hope a week from now will be a spectacular Tuesday. And then our last 2024 forum will be on November 26th. And we have Adrian Fontes, who's our Arizona Secretary of State, Patty O'Neill, who's our chair of Maricopa County Democrats, Melissa Galarza, who is chair of the LD12 Democrats, and all three will give us a post-election analysis. And then in December, we are taking a vacation, hopefully for snow and family and holidays, and we'll see you back in January. Thank you again for being our guest. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Thank you, Janie.